Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first webinar on low carbon learning Next Gen. For those who don't know me, my name is Danielle Miller, and I am the event manager at BEST, which is short for Built Environment Smarter Transformation, formerly known as Construction Scotland Innovation Centre. I'm delighted to be joined today by my colleague Kate, who you'll meet in a minute. She is an impact manager in our Retrofit team. Before we get underway, I'd like to highlight some housekeeping points which will help the webinar run a bit smoother. Firstly, just to let you know that the session will be recorded and the presentations will be shared with all attendees in the coming days. All participants will be on mute for the duration, but I do encourage you to ask questions. To do so, just look for the questions tab in the control panel, type in your question and click send. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the PowerPoint today, and we'll try to get through as many questions as we can. If we can't get to them all, we do endeavour to answer these on future webinars. 1 second, I can just hear. Nice, there we are. And lastly, there will be some interactive polls. These will display straight away on your screen. Please do take a few seconds to answer these, and we will share the results for everyone to see during the session today. It's great to see so many of you joining. I know that this is the end of the school day for most of you, so we're around the just reached over 30 people, and we have about 80 signed up, so I'm sure some of you will be joining us shortly. If not, again, as I say, it will be sent to you afterwards. So that is enough from me. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Kate to take you through the presentation. Over to you, Kate.
Hi everybody.
That's fab. Yep, we can see it.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Hey guys, my name is Kate Forbes, and as Danielle said, I'm an impact manager with BEST. Just very quickly to give you a wee bit of an overview as to who we are. Built Environment Smarter Transitions are one of 7 innovation centres funded through Scottish Government, the Scottish Funding Council and Scottish Enterprise. As such, it puts us in quite a unique position between academia, public sector and industry, and we endeavour to connect the three and unlock best value across that entire built environment system. You may know that we rebranded last year, and as part of that, our mission is now to accelerate the transition to zero carbon within the built environment. I think it's important just to frame how big an impact the built environment has on carbon emissions and how much energy use goes into that. So us being able to solve this challenge is really important for the future. We have managed to get funding through Young Person's Guarantee funding to continue a programme that we started last year, which was called Low Carbon Learning. The original programme was pitched at construction professionals and the intent was to upskill them in low carbon construction and current best practice. This current funding aims to continue that journey, but for an age of between 13 and 24 age demographic. The intent is that we provide some workshops around 3 major themes. So Passivhaus standards, retrofit standards and digital construction. And what we're planning is 3 different workshop types around those 3 key themes. Later on within the programme, we hope to launch an online module on the principles of fabric first construction. I won't talk too much about that today, but hopefully we will share that later on once it's ready. Just for an overview in terms of timeline, obviously we're launching January. Our funding runs until the end of July, and I'm conscious of your academic year, those of you that are from academic institutions, that we don't have a huge amount of time to squeeze in the workshops, but that's the kind of general timeline that we're working to, although we do have flexibility within that. We are looking at the moment at a programme that consists of a 4-day workshop day, with a bit of theory, a bit of classroom introduction in the early part of the day, and then 3 practical workshops that utilise our factory and showcase some really practical learning around each of the themes the workshop themes, which I'll tell you about in a wee while. Obviously, we are aiming to be as flexible as possible and cater to the biggest audience. So if that's too long a day for you, if you think for younger attendees, or if you think more practically, depending on where you're traveling, we can shorten that day to finish at 2:30 or 12:30. So there's a bit of flexibility in and around that. And we're going to do the first of our polls just now. And it would be really useful feedback to me. We're not going to hold you to this, but if you can tell me which of the three you think you might be most interested in, if you can respond to that within the poll. Okay, so if you're still going with that, that's okay, but I'm just going to talk you through a little about what we're planning for each of the days. These are still under at a planning stage, but we're hoping to be able to deliver something along these principles. As I said, each of the days we plan to start with a bit of theory in the first instance, and we're hoping that is a bigger group in the front end. Thereafter, we're looking to break down into 3 separate practical workshops, and each group that are attending rotate around those practical workshops. We're looking at extending that Passivhaus theory here onto 4 of our demonstration rigs, basically one-to-one models that we've already built and live in our factory, a bit of a demo around airtightness and airtightness testing. We've got some augmented reality workshop within that Passivhaus, within those Passivhaus rigs, and a bit of work using a thermal camera to see the benefits of that type of construction. We're looking at some airtightness awareness and taping workshop, and we've got a plan to make our own insulation in our thermal bonding line within our own innovation factory. I went too fast. The second workshop day, we're looking at focusing around retrofit, and again, we've got a couple of retrofit rigs, which are like one-to-one models that we've built of 2 instances of how you might retrofit existing construction. So looking again at thermal cameras and the benefits of that, and definitely exploring how MVHR works in an existing context. Looking at insulating, a workshop around insulating existing building types and what those building types are in Scotland, and a bit of video retrofit best practice, hopefully an interesting workshop there for a younger demographic. Our digital construction day, we're looking at showcasing the best of drone 3D scanning, a bit of SketchUp and treasure hunt, and some demos within our factory that are about CNC and robot construction, and a bit of assembly workshop within our factory as well. Before I go on to the next bit, again, can we share a poll of which of the next 3, which of those 3 you might think are most useful to you, and what you might be most interested in attending? Again, I'm not going to hold you to that, but if you can give us a bit of a heads up as to which is going to be our most popular, that definitely helps us in the early stages of planning. We'll leave that poll open for a wee bit for you to keep completing that, but I will explain now, if you're interested in attending any of our workshop days, how next to go about it. What we'll do after this webinar is send you through the content that we've had and the Q&A session, and we'll also send you through, as part of that, an expression of interest form. If you're interested in bringing a group, it asks for some key information that allows us to start planning. You can see what's on the screen already, but name, local authority, and how many people you would want to bring within each of the age groups. Thereafter, which workshop that you're most interested in attending, and what format in terms of day would be of most use to you. It is possible that we could bring innovation workshops to you, and if you think that's going to be more suitable for your students, please just tell us, give us a wee reason as to why you think that's better. As part of the funding, we do have funding available to pay for buses and travel, so we are able to come and pick you up and bring you to our innovation factory and showcase the best that we have. But if you still think that's not suitable for you and you think it's better that we come to you, just let us know why. I've not listed the full dates on this on the presentation form, but which of the following dates would be of most use to you? At the moment, we've blocked out a number of dates, all of which are Wednesdays, that we know that the factory is free and that we are available to run sessions. But if these aren't suitable to you, there is an option for you to tell us when suits you. Please do tell us also if you've got any flexibility in that. So if there's 2 or 3 dates, list the 3 and list them for us. The last thing that we'll ask you is your postcode, and that is so that I can plan and hopefully plan our logistics for being able to come and pick you up. So no more detail required than that. We've got one more question for you before we come to our Q&A, and it would be really useful for us in a planning sense if you're able to tell me if any of the workshops at the moment are of most interest, which ones are of most interest to you, or more importantly, if there's anything you think we're missing that we can help you out with that will supplement your curriculum. So please do let us know, and we'll do our best to accommodate what you need. Thereafter, on to any questions. If you've got any questions, please type them in to the chat box and we'll get through as many as we possibly can.
Thanks, Kate. I will just have, so yeah, if everyone can just pop the questions in the chat box, anything you have, and I will just start with some that came through there just now. So, Kate, can you tell us how many young people you can have at any one time? Is it only one group per day, or what's the kind of rules around that?
We've currently set up so that we're looking at a general capacity of about 60 per day, and like groups of 20 across the 3 workshops. There is a bit of flexibility in that. So if you've got a bigger group, we can see what we can do to accommodate. And obviously, if they're smaller groups, we'll maybe try and have 2 or 3 different groups in on the same day.
Yeah. And when the groups come in, will they be doing all 3 parts of, Passivhaus, Retrofit and digital, or can they just do one, or how does it work?
What we've planned at the moment is they do one of the thematic groups and 3 workshops on that thematic. If you think it's really important across the 3, then again tell us that and we'll see if we can accommodate.
Yeah. And can you book in different groups on the same day? So could a school book in different groups to come in all in one day?
So different groups on one day, yes. The form probably accommodates that. If you want different groups on different days, then I would probably fill in 2 separate forms so that you tell us that I want this group on this day and it's one group and I've got this. So that's absolutely fine if you've done that, and then that lets us get back to you and ask.
Great. There's a question came in from Andrew. Thank you. So I'm just wondering if you could tell us where the factory is, Kate. So it might be good to say here that we actually have 2 Andrew now. So we're spoiled, but I'll let Kate tell you about that.
We are based at the top of High Blantyre. We've got 2, both our existing innovation factory and our new factory, which they purchased last year, which we're hoping to turn into a retrofit centre of excellence. And generally, a lot of our training stuff happens there, but both side by side at the top of High Blantyre. Yeah,
and I think it's good to say we will let the people see the factory. I mean, we do a factory tour every month for adults, so if they think it's cool, then I'm sure the kids will also think it's cool. And we do have organisations in working, so they will be able to see what it's really like to work in a factory and take away that stigma of construction sites all being outside. You can be in our nice warm factory for the day. So another question here from John. Is PPE required, or will this be provided at the centre? We've got all the PPE that is needed, so you wouldn't need to bring any. Generally, we're looking at high vises, and a couple of the workshops will require glasses and gloves, but again, they'll be provided if they're needed. Fantastic. And the questions are flying in. Just give me a sec. I keep losing them. Question here. What age group are the pupils? Does it matter, or is there a limit? So our funding is looking at between 13 and 24. We've got different KPIs within each age group, so we're obviously trying to meet that. But if you have 1 or 2 pupils who are out with that group, we're not going to turn them away. Fab. No, that's great. Question here from Sarah. Is the project fully funded for participants, or will there be a cost for them?
So absolutely no cost to you. Sorry if I wasn't clear on that. Fully funded by Young Person's Guarantee. So we are able to provide the training and the transport and bring you to the factory.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I know we did speak about buses here, but someone has said that it's quite difficult from their school because transport can be a barrier. So obviously it is available to move around. So is that okay? Could we take the training to them and do it for them? Yeah. Perfect. And a question from Amy, how long does each workshop take? So I suppose in each Passivhaus Retrofit digital.
So what we're looking at is the first theory being less than an hour, trying to keep the classroom bit quite tight and obviously not too long. And then the practical sessions, we're looking at them lasting up to an hour and 20 minutes, although some of those practical sessions are broken down into 2 or 3 bits. So very definitely trying to keep that flowing and as dynamic as possible.
Yeah, and I suppose it would be good to know from you when you're doing you're filling in your form if you have to be back at the school at 3 or you can leave earlier or whatever suits you so that we can try and accommodate around you. And we're used to very tight time scales, so we can fit it in as long as you tell us when you have to leave. No, that's great. Question from Alison. What students do you feel would be the ideal candidates for this, Kate?
So, I mean, obviously it's pitched with a built environment. Anybody, I suppose, if you're looking at people that are definitely interested in careers in construction, but also those that might not be sure what they want to do. There's a real focus from Young Person's Guarantee in terms of inclusion. So I am hoping that we are able to hit some of the people that aren't already involved in the construction industry and break some of those stereotypes. But generally, we're trying to cater for as diverse a crowd as we possibly can.
Yeah. And they might not know they want to come until they come and then realise that they actually really love it when they're there. So yeah, would encourage them all to attend.
And I suppose the only thing to add to that, I've talked a bit about personal background, but actually from an academic aspiration, everything from structural engineers to painters and decorators, I think this would be really useful for, because the whole construction industry is going to have to address the changes to get us to zero carbon. So it's actually the full suite of people. So it's not necessarily pitched at those that are aiming at an academic end or those that are aimed at a practical end. It's trying to cater for them all.
Perfect. No, that's great. And Shelley has asked, are there accommodations for accessibility issues?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I'm firing these at you, Kate. You can stop for a break, not to worry.
Absolutely. Let us know what your challenges are and we can work with them. And if that is us come to you, or if that is us accommodate here, we'll do what we can.
Yeah, I think it's good to say that both our factories are on the ground floor and you can get access to both through the yard, which do have bigger doors if for any accessibility issues. So all of our projects as well have ramps to them, so if the kids can go in and see what has been made in the factory, they would be able to as well. That's great. So let me just check the next question. Amy has said, I work for a construction company. We have apprentices and trainees. Is this suitable for them if they're under 24 years old?
Absolutely. Definitely within a target market of.
So it's not just schools. We can. Okay, perfect. Great. Next question here from Julia. Will you be mixing age groups from several organisations, or will you try to keep older students together, e.g. 18 and over?
Yeah, no, very definitely. I mean, part of the reason I'm asking for the information and the expression of interest rather than just letting you book in is to try and make sure that we've planned it to accommodate. And even within each of the workshops, we're looking at trying to span them a range so that they're suitable for people that might have experience or might not have any at all. So we're trying to make sure that we cater for that. Definitely, I think maybe in the bigger groups, there might be a bit more of a mix of age, but definitely when we break them down into the smaller workshops, we're trying to keep that as comfortable for everybody as possible.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Got a question here from Shelley, on the point about inclusion, would there be a chance to see what the content is beforehand to check it's at a suitable level? My learners are S6, but working at first and second year level.
What I would suggest that you do is get in touch, tell us what you're working at, and we'll do our best to accommodate. So I wouldn't exclude yourself or them on the principle of where they're working at, and that they might be absolutely perfect for some of the more practical stuff. We're not aiming for that to be massively academic. It's very much about showcasing the technologies and showcasing the practices. So happy to work with you to make sure that we are accommodating them, and if that means a bit of bespoke stuff, then we can maybe do that.
Great. Someone has asked if we'll be sending out the application form with the slides. So what we will make sure to do is this will be recorded so that you have all the Q&A and the slides all together, and then we will send this to everyone who's registered and along with the form. And then if you have any questions, you can just come to Kate with any of them going forward. So that's great. Question came in about the theory part again, Kate. So could you just tell us a wee bit more about that? Is that you who will be giving that, or who will be looking after that?
What we're looking at is getting industry experts to try and help us out with some of those. Some of these workshops are going to be run by BEST staff, and some of them are going to be specialist tutors or industry experts at the moment. So there's a bit of diversity in that. Obviously trying to cater for the whole range at the same time.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Question here from Amy, sorry. Do you have any documents with more information I could share with people so they can decide if they want to attend? It would be good to see some predefined learning outcomes.
They are all under development at the moment, so they're not quite at a point I can share with you, but again, if you've got definite questions, get in touch and I'll answer the bits I can.
Yeah, and I suppose every school or every organisation will have different requirements and needs. So yeah, it's better to just ask than think when you get the document through, oh, this isn't for me because X, Y, Z. Just ask us and then we can tailor it to suit what you do. We do a lot of school groups at the moment, so have a lot of different ages in, and we change every single one of them for the groups coming in. So yeah, we can definitely cater for that. I think I've got a question here from Scott. Yeah, he's just asked about session notes. So Scott, this session is recorded, so we will share it with you afterwards so that you have it. And question from Amy, sorry if I've missed this at the start, can you tell us when the release date is? When's the start date for the project?
So I will send you through the booking form with the webinar quote, and thereafter we're looking for workshops starting end of February, beginning of March.
Yeah, it might be helpful, Kate. I don't know if you can bring back up that slide. Just we've had a few questions actually about the timeline. Let me just bring this back up for you on your screen. Okay. And then if you could just, there we are. Yeah, if you could just take us through that once more, that might help.
So we have the funding available until July, and we're obviously working on developing stuff at the moment, working through developing everything at the moment. So end of February, beginning of March in terms of delivery and anything in there. Obviously we were trying to miss exam periods and stuff with our initial planning, but you tell us when suits.
Yeah. And what about late, if people don't think it would suit till next year? Is that an option, or does it have to fall in this to suit the project?
This particular funding bracket. So what I'm offering at the moment, we have the funding available until July.
Perfect.
If you're looking at stuff for next year, then talk to us, but I can't necessarily guarantee that we've got travel funding.
Yeah. Although I do tell us, because that would be good for us to know if you know, when we are going forward for more funding for future years, then just let us know, and then we can always put that into our funding. So that would be great. No, that's fab. We'll just take that back off the screen. There we are. Okay, so I've got a question here from Neil. If you visit a school, how many pupils can be accommodated in a day? So that's if you go to the school instead of them coming to the factory, I assume.
Most of the workshops we're setting up to accommodate about 20, although obviously I'm conscious that's less than a class size. I suppose it depends in terms of what subjects and what we're bringing. So again, tell me that, tell me who you've got. If you want us to come to you, I'm happy to have a conversation about what we can accommodate.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I'll just see if there's any last questions coming in. While I do that, yeah, the polls are kind of looking like 3 session days is what more people are looking for. That was half of the votes got that. But again, this is to suit you. So if that doesn't suit us, just let you know. And it was kind of 50-50-50 split, if that makes sense, over all 3 of the Passivhaus, Retrofit and Digital Construction. But again, if your school or organisation has a focus, then we're more than happy to accommodate. So you can just let us know. So I'll just check, but I think that might have been the last question. Yep. Perfect. Yeah. So that's great. Thanks so much, Kate. I'm sorry for throwing all those questions at you right at the end there, but yeah, as I say, if there are any questions that pop to your head, or if you're at the moment just watching the recording, then please do send us those questions and we will try our best to answer them all. I've just got one more, so I'm just going to read it while we're here. This is from Alison. So for pupils visiting the Innovation Centre, can the workshops be covered in one day, or is it necessary to cover over multiple days?
So all of it is planned that it's one day out.
Yeah. One day but the 3 sessions, or one day but the 2 sessions. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So yeah, over one day, and then I suppose that's yeah, we will either cover as much as we can, or if there's just one specific topic that we can spend time on other things as well. And yeah, as I say, they'll get a chance to see both of our factories. So yeah, so that's great. Thank you, Kate, for answering all those questions. So yeah, as I say, just keep asking them, sending them our way, and we will try to answer them all. But all that's left for me to do is wrap up. So I'll just get on with that just now, and then yeah, so I just firstly like to say thank you to the audience for taking your time today. I know for many of you this is, well, for everyone is the end of the day, but for school teachers especially, you've hung on for us, so we really do appreciate it, and we do appreciate your questions coming in. Your feedback is really useful for us to plan future events, but also for initiatives like this. So you will be sent a feedback form straight away when this webinar closes. Please do fill that out, and again, send us anything by email that you want us to respond to. Finally, you'll see that we have just popped some links into the chat box for you. So this will take you to the webinar, the website, which shows you some of the older low carbon learning work that we've done to give you an idea. And plus Kate's email in there so that you can contact her directly. And yeah, that just leaves me to say thanks again for attending. We look forward to seeing you again at a future webinar. Thank you, Kate, and have a great night. Thanks, everyone.
Jason.